Well, everybody, today is the 8th day of November. This is our regular full council meeting. I want to apologize for the late start today. Anyone that's joining us from work remote is here in person. If you would help me get started with the Pledge of Allegiance to our Republic. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'm presuming well, can we start with a roll call, please?
Mr. Batcher? Here. Ms. Cheney?
Here.
Mr. Kmet?
Here.
Mr. Brittenhoff?
Yes.
Ms. Snyder?
Here.
Mr. Van Horn?
Here.
Very good. Presuming everyone has an opportunity to look at the agenda, there is one addition that says no registered speakers. Our newly elected council member, David Fisher, has joined us this evening, has requested an opportunity to introduce himself to the council, and I've granted that. So with that amendment to the agenda, are there any other amendments or a motion to accept the agenda?
We're adding legislation.
Yeah, there's additional legislation we're bringing forward to that. If it was available through the website, and that is a resolution to withdraw from the Lebanon Fire and Rescue District and approve an allocation agreement and a resolution to contract with Park Silverton. So those would be added by motion to the agenda by motion.
Any other amendments? And if not, is there a motion to accept the agenda as amended? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Fisher.
Thank you. About a year and a half ago, when I moved into Gulf Manor, obviously a move was hard, but confused, wanting to know if I made the right decision or not, finding myself looking through mattresses to buy a new mattress. Everything goes through your head. Is this the right decision? Is this the right place? As I'm standing there, fantastic, can I help you? Yeah, sure. What type of mattress are you looking for? Where do you need it delivered to? I tell them Gulf Manor. What? Gulf Manor? Are you serious? I love that place. What do you like Gulf Manor? I grew up in Gulf Manor, and growing up in Gulf Manor gave me an opportunity for life. Growing up in Gulf Manor he starts going on to explain how he enjoyed his upbringing here, and that's why he loves Gulf Manor. He doesn't live there anymore. He's like, man, you made the right decision to move there. I was like, oh, thank you, God. The future of all of us and the future of Gulf Manor lies in our children, lies in the youth. I ran, and I'm here today to ask for all of your support in being able to invest and reinvest in our children. Our children is something that, if we do it right and we have extra programs for them, they live a happy upbringing. There's less drugs, there's less crime. If we invest in them, we'll make a difference for ourselves and make a difference to the universe. I am humbled that I get to join this council with such prestige people. I'm looking forward to the day that we all can stand by and watch how we had a child of a Jewish family, a child of a black family, a child of a family, a child of a white family skipping down the street with a smile on their face as we know that their future we lit up. And we are the ones that put in their hands a bright future. May God bless all of us. May God bless America, the greatest country, land of the free. We all could choose to be free, live free, live the way we want free, with who we want free, and together serve our God the way we want free. I ask all of you to please join me on this, to be able to make a difference to Gulf Manor and a difference to the future of our country.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Welcome. We'll be swearing in Mr. Fisher at the end of December.
It's December 13th.
December 13th council
Okay.
meeting.
All right.
Those who have been reelected to the position of Mr. Fisher will have a swearing in ceremony that night, and usually a very brief council meeting that follows. And oftentimes a community celebration.
Working on preparations for that, so.
Minutes to be approved. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at the minutes from October 25th? And is there a motion to accept them, or is there any amendments, changes that need to be made to them?
Motion to accept.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I want to recognize that this past week began the Festival of Lights for Hindus. Diwali, I believe, is the pronunciation of that. I have some coworkers that celebrated that. The season, as we're moving forward here, is for many people celebrations of light in the world. And on that note, I want to remind people that we, with all the holidays that are coming and the busyness of that, committee assignments made in the new year. And I would like you to start reaching out to me now rather than waiting till the celebratory times of December to start getting that information to me. So if there's interest in the committee that you're currently on, if you'd like to change committees that you're currently on, I've been putting word out to our newly elected official, as well as folks who ran and who were not elected, want to support their interest in council by making sure that they're getting on committees here. So I will be I have spoken to each of the people who ran and those who were successful and those who were not, and let them know that I'm interested in hearing what committees they'd like to be involved in. So please start speaking to me about that before we get to January 1st. And Mr. Hirth, your report.
Sure. Thank you. COVID protocols continue. Appreciate everybody's adherence to those. And there really is nothing new with where the county is moving with that at this point, but we'll keep council abreast of that as we move along. Administration project updates. Vera Road is behind, and the rain that we had a couple of weeks ago put them significantly behind on some of the drain work they're doing. So I've reached out to the engineering firm today to try and find out what their revised schedule is. They were hoping to be done by the middle of November. I'm sure those of you living on Vera know that that's not going to happen with the way the condition of the road is right now. The biggest issue that they have is trying to get the pavement down before the cold weather comes in. So as soon as I have some kind of update on that, I will post it on the update page on the website, and then also send you an email so you're aware of what's happening. Engineering has begun on Elbrook, Canterbury, Englewood, and on Weehee for the new road projects for 2022. Leaf collection season continues and focuses deeply on the schedule that's available on the website. There's a link to that on our webpage. So there's also, if you happen to be watching this meeting and you want to see when they're going to be concentrating on your street, check the schedule. However, if there's the opportunity, they hit the whole village during the same round. So they are constantly removing leaf numbers. We really need to make sure that people are aware that we're doing Monday yard waste pickup through December 6th. That is a recycling program that Rumpke is doing. You can still put your leaves in bags out for Tuesday pickup, but they are not recycled. They just go into the landfill at that point. So this is an additional service that's available to the residents, and it's a more economically, or I should say more environmentally friendly alternative to raking leaves to the curb. We just need to get the word out about that. I updated actually I had no update for the executive committee this evening on the playground project. I've not gotten any additional information on when the materials will be ready to fabricate the structure. As soon as that happens, then we'll know more specifically when the installation is actually going to take place. On the strategic plan, we have tentatively scheduled the second council working session for Thursday, November 18th at 6:30 p.m. to gather the information that was garnered in the last session, and then to focus on a discussion of implementation of community engagement. That date was the date that came back when most everybody was available. Mr. Fisher certainly is welcome to attend that. He's not there. Where'd he go? There you are. So, and I can touch base with you specifically on what that's about. So, council, can you make a motion to meet in a work session on Thursday, November 18th at 6:30 p.m.?
So moved.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Without objection, I take that as unanimous.
Great, thank you for that.
Let me report back, James. Because I'll be out, I will not be able to attend. I'd like to see how that goes.
We can. Yeah, that's not a problem. Let's see.
That won't be live, that'll just be a working session, that won't be live. That won't be YouTube.
No, I won't put it on the website, but I'll record it. Let's see. For those of you who are candidates for the election, we'd appreciate it if you'd make sure that all of your signs are down. They now are in violation of the village sign policy since the election has passed. So just if you could make sure that those are cleaned up. Election day on Tuesday, November 8th went well in using Community Hall. The improvements that we made back there were well received by the staff. And moving people through that room worked out really well. Veterans Day of the federal holiday. And finally, just so you're aware, if you're up tomorrow morning between 2 and 5 a.m., village email will be down. They're doing a security update and an upgrade to some of the systems. So don't get frustrated if you feel like you need to fire up an email at 3 in the morning, but it should back up by 5. And I believe Chief Campbell has already notified his staff of that. So, and that's the end of my report. Are there any questions?
Did they cash the check?
Yes, they did. Oh, I forgot to mention that. They so the part of the funding for the new structure in the park was funded by COVID funding that was received in 2020, and we were able to request reimbursement because we did get the canceled check. The issue, then the next hook to getting that reimbursement is to schedule the project. So we need to try and see if we can get them to be a little bit more lenient on doing that, because we'd like to get that payment before the end of the fiscal year.
You'd like to make sure we pay that. Is that okay?
No, we've already paid the company
Oh,
and they canceled the check. Now we want to get the reimbursement from the county for the monies that we've expended.
I wanted to thank the maintenance crew for their work last Monday, cleaning up some trash and getting back up on the curbs from out of the street. Rumpke has great workers, like any organization. Sometimes you might have one that's having a bad day and not particularly showing him or herself to be a good worker. And I had several people that brought this to my attention last week and saw it myself just right out in front of my house. One of the workers accidentally spilled one of the trash, put it in the back, got very frustrated with that, threw the can down the street, left it there. All the cans in the street left out in the street, many of them knocked over and trash in the street. Our maintenance crew took care of that, got that all cleaned up, got all that stuff taken, put back on the curb directly. That's the word that I have from the administration.
Say Ron, not that Ron, correct? I didn't hear.
That's what I thought it was. I was right.
May not stick.
And the good point to make here is that they addressed the situation.
Yes.
So it was taken care of.
Other questions? Mr. Fiscal Officer.
Yeah, so a few things. We are doing an appropriation and revenue adjustment this evening. We're doing the year end, kind of trying to clean up the books a little bit. So we will need an adjustment for several items, including accounting for additional general fund revenues, such as income tax and property taxes, and then adjusting some of the appropriation line items to account for increased health insurance, vacation payouts, and ancillary line items associated with compensation. Most of these were planned. We knew that they were coming. We had appropriations to get us through to this point, especially the health insurance, but we need to make that adjustment. The second item is we will have an appropriations budget for approval at the next meeting. There isn't any significant budget that was approved earlier this year. Appropriation budget, with the exception of a slight adjustment in Rumpke fees due to the new contract, and we need to increase the street levy appropriations due to some new projects that were approved following the passage of the budget. So be on the lookout for that. Happy to answer any questions.
Did you mention the firehouse?
Well, yeah, and the firehouse has some heating issues. We are moving forward with addressing one of the most immediate concern this evening. We need to replace a heating coil in one of the heating units that sit on top of the roof. The cost on that, unfortunately, is $8,600. It's looking like 2 units. And Thompson might correct me if I'm wrong. 2 additional units need to be replaced. And we are waiting on that invoice from Diamond. One, possibly 2.
One, and then the other one that was bad is being repaired with the coil.
Okay.
The immediate fix is the other one.
Okay, good to know. Thanks for the correction. So that's part of the appropriation adjustment this evening, the heating coil. Hopefully we have something from Tyler regarding the replacement of the second unit by next council meeting. They're saying that estimated delivery on a new unit is 15 weeks out. So it's important that we get something taken care of as soon as the appropriations in line, so we don't have to wait that any longer than it needs to be.
Good, thank you, Mr. Lancer. Any questions?
Would you like to bring the housing grant?
I'm happy to.
Okay.
So the other thing Ms. Snyder mentioned, we discussed it in the executive meeting. The village applied for and received a grant for a county housing study. The county has contracted with a private consulting firm, a national consulting firm, to do a housing study, I believe, for 2, possibly 3 communities in Hamilton County. And we won the grant, one of those 3 grants. So what they are going to do is take a comprehensive look at housing in the village of Gulf Manor. That includes inventorying every housing unit in Gulf Manor, and then help us come with strategies to achieve whatever goals we have in the realm of housing, which includes looking at one thing that they have is taking a look at Gulf Manor's zoning around housing. And we will be scheduling a meeting with them to kind of kick that off, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. But it's an exciting project to be a part of. Hopefully we can learn some best practices, and hopefully it helps us in the economic development realm, the real estate realm, and hopefully the most significant thing I'm excited about is completing studies like this will help us achieve the grant. Oftentimes, grant monies are tied to having a study. This will help us there, and hopefully it leads to more resources being available to the residents of Gulf Manor in terms of helping update their homes, that sort of thing. So, excited.
Thank you, Mr. Lancer. Any other questions?
So that would also help a lot with strategic planning.
Yes, but so the timing of it is Pretty incredible.
So on that note, I know last we talked about the discussion of revitalization fund. I know it still has to go through finance, but should we put this on our agenda as whole business for council? Does that come up? I didn't see here, and that was a pretty big.
Adding of the revitalization
Yeah, at least
fund.
for whole business, that's still a line item we're gonna be
I think
discussing.
that probably needs to be on the executive committee for the 22nd. That's right. Sorry, Finance Committee agenda.
Yeah, so I'm working with the Center for Local Government in order to get some best practices regarding how the communities have them and how they're being funded. So once we have those answers, yeah, it's definitely gonna come back.
I think too, what we see with our reserve will be at the end of this year. That'll also be a part of the discussion. Because part of that strategy is to take a portion of the reserve and hold it aside for revitalization.
Okay.
Chief Campbell, report.
Yeah. I have the mayor's court report for the month of October. Total to the village was $3,118. Total to the state, $187. $36 to the other line for a total of $4,141. That is the end of the mayor's court report.
Have a motion to accept the
I'll
report.
make a motion.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Madam Chair, I take that as unanimous. Any other?
Also, we continue to work with the body cameras. It's come along good. We've been deploying them in the field. We've already realized some benefits from that. Pretty much all I have for today. There's a lot on the table. Unless there's any questions.
Do you want to mention the LPR since we've signed that contract?
Yes, I wasn't aware of the sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've entered into an agreement with a company we're going to mount stationary LPRs, license plate readers, strategic points in the village. We'll capture a lot of data for us of coming out of the village. It will benefit us in traffic counting, also criminal investigations. So we're excited to get that done. We don't have a date yet. We're still trying to get that set up. But we sent a preliminary invitation for we want that.
Question.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with the license plate readers and all that. I can see the benefits. I'm sure this question's going. What gets tracked? What doesn't get tracked? How is the information accessed? Is it based on if we get an investigation, something was stolen, we go back and review the data, or all data categorized and
Well,
at the end of the NSA?
it captures data, just the same as a doorbell camera. If
Right.
it was angled the right way, it'll capture every car going by. There's some AI built into it, so it's able to discern license plates. What we can do is we can proactively enter information that we want, warrants, things like that, stolen vehicles, and also compare those against other entries. So we would be notified for example, if the stolen car drove into the village on the Sangerville. We would confirm that information, then we got the notification through the system, and then if we're able to locate that vehicle, we can use that information to do that. If we have a vehicle stolen or involved in a crime, we can enter that into the system so that other agencies will be notified if they're utilizing it. And there were several hundred that are coming in. So we'll be able to share that information in real time with other agencies. So they would know if the car we were looking for actively was in their area.
So I guess what I'm getting at is what's the criteria, kind of search in a way, what has to happen before you're able to access that information? Access it and say, hey, I wonder if Smith over here is, leaving the village at 3 o'clock in the morning, or does there have to be a specific?
I want to know what time Ron is getting to work in the morning. Like, look at his license plate. and let me
It
know.
kind of comes to the privacy issue.
These are all already. There's stores you go to every day. There's license plate readers. So an example I could give you is if we had car break-ins on a certain street, and somebody said, I saw a red pickup truck, 2 in the morning, I thought there was people delivering papers, but it wasn't. We can go back and we can search a window to see what red trucks.
I totally understand that. What I think of the privacy protections for just ordinary citizen going, and the police department being able to just access it and look at it and go, oh, Mrs. Smith is, out at 3 o'clock in the morning. Or,
Is there an expectation of privacy or not? I
Yeah.
think that's the question.
So I'm struggling to frame the question. I think
I hear-
Isn't that covered in our records?
Yeah, what it would be, it's a data dump.
Yeah.
The cloud through the company stores all this information, and then it gets erased after a certain period of time. If we have a reason to get in there, we can say, I'd like to see the window on Bremont 2 a.m. to 4 a.m., and we can access that. But we have no reason to retain it beyond that. It's a 30-day.
And I'm just curious, what are those, like you have to go to a judge to get a warrant to search someone's house. What's the level of need and how does that compare?
You still have the probable cause.
Okay.
And license plates are in the public realm.
Right.
Right.
There's no expectation of privacy when you're on the street. We could mount these to face of the house, but it just captures traffic data. If you like, you can have somebody from the company, they've offered to do a presentation at council.
Yeah, I kind of figured this probably has already answered this question 1,000 times before, so that's, that kind of information would be interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, right now, there's surrounding agencies that have them mounted on their vehicles. And they have the data while they're driving. These are fixed point.
Right.
Cameras that just capture.
Yeah, I've seen where they, like, people be over automatically zoom in and information from the cruiser to the.
Yeah, this is passive collection, it's not us driving through.
No, I understand that. I was just curious about, just privacy protection. Really, that's what I'm curious about.
I think one of the big help areas of opportunity here for the village of Manor is property maintenance with legal dumping. There's certain locations in the village where we have installed cameras. The sheriff's department has helped us install cameras in the village, but and they're capturing dumping actively occurring in the village.
Well, I had them on the telephone call outside my house to get drug back. I don't have a problem with it. I just want to understand what's the privacy mechanisms here that.
I hear you, and I'll ask Chief Campbell to follow up, and yeah, definitely, I think it's in our interest to have, the community's interest, to have the company here so we can ask them some questions about that. I know that there's a lot of concerns about whenever data is being collected and just sitting someplace, even if even if we're well-intentioned and we have protocols about how we access that information, how secure is it from someone else from just checking it out for whatever purposes that they want to do it for.
And I'm sure they had this question 100 times. I mean, even just collateral material will probably find it.
Yeah. I mean, this is technology that's been used for several years.
If you drive down I've noticed on Ronald Reagan, in a number of places, you have these long highways, the poles with the.
Oh, I'm very familiar.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm just curious now, I'm up close with it. I like to.
Yeah.
I got the James Bond. It just
Flips
flips,
over.
it flips my,
Yeah.
my license plate over.
And there's some good, we want to get these implemented first, but they've.
I think there's a need for them here. I really do, especially around the perimeter to see kind of what elements are
Something
coming
they
in.
have also is you can add components to it that can detect shots in the area, things like that. If we had one down on the western side of the village, if there was glass breakage and there's a business that's not alarmed, these things would have the capability to pick that sound up, let us know, go check that area. There's a lot of upside to this.
Oh, no, I don't disagree. I'm just.
How many are we going to have, and will we know the locations of those?
3, and once the locations are finalized, I can let council know. They're not going to be hidden.
Okay.
It's just going to be mounted in strategic areas that capture data for us.
And once they're mounted, do they stay put, or are you able to move them around as
They
needed?
stay put.
Okay.
My questions primarily are around surveillance economy, where you're collecting data on people and then selling that data, making lots of money off of the information that it finds. So my concern would be around, is that data secure, or is this company selling out that information to other companies, that kind of thing? So,
Terry, do you want to address the Records Commission? Because I think this dovetails into this.
Yeah, we're gonna have to update our records retention destruction policy for this to specifically acknowledge that this agent of ours would have this data for a period of 30 days and then it's automatically destroyed. So we don't have someone saying, I want the picture from September, and we say, we don't have it, and they go, you improperly destroyed it. So we will dovetail that during that window of 30 days. Again, the chief will be accessing it if he has reason to get the data, but it's a public record. Someone could make a request. So if there's a family that has a tense issue and someone in the family wants to see what license plate is at my house when I'm working, she could make a request and find out what's going on when she's at work. I'm not advocating for that.
Actually.
But that'll never happen in this program.
The public record, but it's very important we have a destruction policy with it. And we will not be retaining it. The company cannot reuse it, cannot resell it. They have to retain it for just us.
Yeah, and it's governed by RCIC rules, NCIC and these rules as well, which are very, very strict. The benefit for us, like I said, we can enter in a suspicious vehicle. And if we're worried about a vehicle maybe being near the school, and we have a camera that would cover basically two directions, it would cover the campus. We would know if a suspicious vehicle or somebody that we want to know if they're near there. We'll get alerted when they're near that school. That's the benefit of this. We can enter in things we want to watch for, but then we don't have to sit there and watch. It's being done for us.
very good. Just reiterate, I think it's good for the community to have an opportunity to ask their questions. So I'd like to have them come. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you, Chief. Any other questions? Mr. Donovan.
Thank you. First, we have a legislation on the agenda, which is the third reading of the ordinance to combat discrimination and for the guarantee of equality and inclusion. As you recall, 2 weeks ago when we had our second reading, there was some discussion about getting some proposed language through Rabbi Monson and having a chance to review that to make a determination. Would that be some language that we're all comfortable with? And so, busy 2 weeks. A lot came through. The mayor has received some information, wants to talk to Superintendent about it before we bring it forward, and asking that you would table it. In the meantime, I mean, we're talking about 2 weeks. In the meantime, we can still start seating the commission. That does not change. And we can start scheduling education with the commission. That does not change. When we started down this process in March, after the community had strongly supported the ordinance, the idea was to strengthen the ordinance with a few points. And if we can get language that the Jewish community says we support and make it even stronger, it makes sense that we look at it in 2 weeks. I don't know what the language is. We were not able to share it today. But it makes sense if we can get the full support of the Jewish community that we support this ordinance in this way. It's going to benefit everybody. We never intend to draw battle lines with the Jewish community. Never, ever in that intent. With everything we went through for a year, debating it, discussing it till the 22nd, let REA and the mayor talk about this language, see if it's something we could advocate to you and get to you in advance. I don't want to bring it to you at 6 o'clock on the 22nd and say, hey, here, look at this. And I think the request is to table it just for the third reading to 22nd.
So moved.
Yes. All those in favor? Any objections? One of the things that is not very often used, but that we made sure was built into the rule of council was the opportunity for minority opinion, which is if someone doesn't vote for something, they have the opportunity to say a few words after a vote has been made to try to change anyone who voted in the affirmative's mind. They can exercise that now if they like. And
I'm
without
sorry,
that,
what were the numbers of yay and nay?
it looked like 4 to me. Maybe not. Should we do a roll call?
Mr. Betcher,
No.
Ms. Cheney,
No.
Mr. Knipp,
Yes.
Mr. Pridnoff,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder,
No.
Mr. Van Horn.
Yes.
Um,
Language, we asked for it 2 weeks ago. You again went through this, I will be really shocked if there's gonna be language that makes everybody happy. And I hope for it, I really do hope that we can come to some middle ground that we will find support, but man, if we didn't do it during the year that we debated it, and then, I mean, you sent this language to REA in August, I think. And here we are at last minute again, tabling it. I'm disappointed that every time we try and move forward on this, let's table it, let's wait. Because we want to have these debates, and it's frustrating that we take a step forward and then have to wait to take another step forward. So that's my opinion. I'm not expecting to change any minds or votes. I just want to make that clear that if there's not something, ahead of time, not last minute, like it always feels like with this NDO, everything's last minute, everything. I'm really frustrated. I'm already very frustrated, but I would be even more so.
And I support Mr. Betcher in that too, because I feel the same way. This is drawn on way too long. And I'm not, November 22nd, is it November 22nd? That's it. No more. We have to put this to bed.
Well, hopefully I
It's been a
will have
long
that
time.
language even this week that
It's a
we can
long
vet
time
it. And
Yeah.
on this.
I can
Just like the
speak
fire
to-
department.
I can speak to a couple of those concerns. The last minute piece of it, I appreciate that concern. In fairness to REA, he approached me more than a week ago with this conversation. Our ability to get together wasn't, or our lack of ability to get together wasn't all on him or the Jewish community. Okay, well, what I'm saying is that if I understand the feeling about it being waiting until the last minute, if you're talking about it prior to 2 weeks ago, then I'm saying that's not fair because actually I was approached with that.
Mr. Donlin sent the language in August.
And that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I'm saying if you're talking about the past 2 weeks. All right. The other component of it is if this does go down to a 3-3 vote again, I want to make sure that I'm informed. So that's the reason why I'm asking personally for it to be extended till the 22nd, because I've had people reach out to me and I want to make sure that I've given it a fair hearing.
I'm going to ask you the next time people reach out to you, or if you want to talk to like the Jewish community, that you let us know, because the way we left this at the last meeting was that Jewish community was supposed to get with Mr. Donald and Mr. Hurt. That's the way I understood it, not with the mayor. And you didn't inform any of us, so we didn't think any discussion was going on for 2 weeks. I'm just asking and stating how I feel. We need to communicate.
The request was to talk to me privately, not run the conversation in a committee. All right. And I'm honoring that. And I wouldn't, if someone came to me and said, "Can we do this? Do you agree with, having a conversation with me without going out and telling everybody that you're having the conversation?" And that's, I hear you, but that's not going to be something on any topic if someone's coming to me, unless it's like a violation of a law where I gotta, go tell somebody that I'm having a conversation.
In respecting Mr. Roberts and his rules of order, the motion was to table this to November 22, which the mayor has broken the tie, so it will be on the agenda for the 22nd. Does everybody understand that? We will have it for third reading on the 22nd.
If I may, I worked on trying to help with this, partly for itself to understand it, because there's a lot of things about the Jewish community and the way it works that I don't understand, and that's a fair statement. But my goal has always been toward consensus, not the same as everybody being happy. Consensus means this is something we consent to, we can both live with it. And the tension that I feel, I think we have to work through it. And I've been through many negotiations in life, and this is always a pinch point. There's nothing, there's no emergency to this, there's no urgency to this to get it done, except for your impatience. Well, that it's important, I'd like to get it done too, but I want our community to come together around this because we finally, okay, this is something we consent to, and I want to vote yes to it. I really do. But right now, I don't feel like, just like the mayor, I've been working on this, trying to understand both sides of it, trying to figure this out. And I could not vote tonight appropriately because I don't feel like I really understand all of the last piece. And we're right there. We're close. So, and I've actually worked on this the last 2 weeks. I wasn't talked up AD. And people are very hard to get a hold of, especially the election and stuff. I know AD has been out of town, phone tag, and that's just life. It's not anybody avoiding anything. I'm busy too. You know, I don't have anybody to do.
And the legislation passed last November, so to your point about there not being any rush, I have felt a rush around that it was passed by the electorate, and part of that was that we would form a commission, and we haven't formed a commission. And since January, I've been hassling the solicitor about, and the administration about, let's get a commission going. Let's start folks about who we should put on the commission, who we should appoint to it, because I think the voters deserve that. But in terms of if we're going to change the wording at all, I think we need to get it right. And I've afforded this opportunity for a conversation around that. It's not an open-ended thing where we're going to continue to discuss it for another year. That's been clear. But I'll report back to you. I've already had a conversation with REA today, and for how long? Hour and a half? Hour? All right, thank you.
So it is on the agenda for November 22. We're all clear of that. Okay. Next piece.
Right.
Ordinance 2021-15. I need a motion to read this by title only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Without objection, I take that as unanimous.
And as Mr. Lanzer pointed out, this is a modification to our appropriations. So this is an ordinance to amend appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the Village of Gulf Manor for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2021. I need a motion to approve, a second, and a roll call vote.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Brescher?
Yes.
Ms. Channing?
Yes.
Mr. Knipp?
Yes.
Mr. Pridnoff?
Yes.
Ms. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Van Horn?
Yes.
And I need a motion to suspend the rules requiring a second and third reading, second and a roll call vote on this motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Or you just said roll call.
Mr. Brescher?
Yes.
Ms. Channing?
Yes.
Mr. Knipp?
Yes.
Ms. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Van Horn?
Yes.
We have two additional pieces of legislation. We mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, we were adding to the agenda this evening. There was a secondary agenda that was available on the website. So by our charter, it was available in advance of the meeting. So I need a motion to read resolution number 2021-35 by title only.
Motion to read by title only.
Second.
Or all in favor?
Aye.
And this is a resolution authorizing Gulf Manor to withdraw as a member of the Little Miami Joint Fire and Rescue District, approving an asset allocation agreement and declaring an emergency. And I need a motion to put this on the table for discussion in a second.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This is the culmination of almost 2 years of negotiations to remove ourselves from the Little Miami Joint Fire and Rescue District. Looking at what many of us would perceive as a better service arrangement. And the second piece of legislation is to join a contract with Deer Park Silverton. The asset allocation is what we reached by agreement with the fire district. And that is by statute, when we vote to withdraw, the assets and the liabilities of the district are assessed, and the auditor is then give an allocation of assets in cash or in kind to the departing member. Ultimately, the auditor will have to approve this, but we have the support from the Little Miami Fire and Rescue District Board that they will advocate for its approval. If we pass this tonight, we will advocate for its approval to start that process. In substance, we will continue to receive the taxes collected in 2022 because of the way taxes are assessed in Ohio. So residents of Gulf Manor will continue to pay the tax based upon the tax levy in the fire district through 2022. We will receive those monies. We will use those monies then to fund a contract with Deer Park Silverton. The asset allocation is an accounting, tangible personal property. There's equipment that the district will keep. Much of the equipment coming out of Station 47, when it will go dark, will be salvaged, sold, and we will get our proportionate share. Our proportionate share of the district is 22.69%. And what that represents is the value of our tax duplicate versus the tax duplicate of the entire district. There'll be a settlement at the end of the year based upon cash, and we'll get our 22.69% of that. We're already projecting, I think it's 400,000+ will be in the bank at the end of the year when they pay the operating expenses through December 31. We will get that. Receivables are an asset. Services for emergency medical services and sometimes fire service are billed, and the insurance company pays those. It takes about a 6-month process to collect it. So the district will continue to collect those receivables through the first half of next year, and we'll get paid 22.69% of those monies as they come in. We will be exiting the district effective March 1. The reason for March 1 is the statute requires us to pick a date, either January 1 of the following year or later date. Deer Park Silverton said we can start servicing you from our station March 1 because they're in the process of hiring 3 new personnel, and they'll need that time to onboard them. And then they can start service. So we'll still be members of the district until March 1 of next year. The district will continue to service Gulf Manor out of Station 47. Our contract currently says that they'll meet national fire protective standards, which is a minimum of 2 and recommended 3, I believe, or 3 and 4. 3 and 4. So they'll continue to work to staff the station. They'll continue to utilize the station while the equipment is being salvaged and sold. So the actual exit from the station itself might not occur until September, but all service 911 calls starting at midnight on March 1 through Deer Park Silverton. Negotiated settlement is paid over a 5-year period. It's estimated to be just about $90,000 per year, and that's our portion share of the allocation net of the liability due Fairfax for a loan. That includes a value that we agreed upon for Station 66, which is the Fairfax station. It includes that settlement for personal property. In addition, like I said, we'll get receivables. We'll also get, I think what else is hanging in the balance to be paid later to be determined.
When we had talked about this, you wanted to address some of the rumors.
Yes. But again, if we go forward, we're withdrawing as of that day. And we'll wish Little Miami Fire and Rescue District the best of luck. There have been horrible rumors over these 2 years, and that oftentimes happens when there is a vacuum and we entered into confidential mediation. And I want to congratulate our team that's been very vigilant about maintaining the confidentiality of those mediation discussions. But in that absence, there's a lot of speculation, a lot of rumor. One being that the reason we're breaking up is we're not taking care of the toilets and showers over at the building. I don't know where that rumor comes from. That's certainly not a reason to break up the family. The Little Miami Fire and Rescue District has always been responsible for the station. And I think most recently they did take care of some of the plumbing issues. So that's not true. Another rumor, we were going bankrupt and we had to jump out. That's not the case. We come out of 2020 with a surplus. We anticipate surplus in 2021. So bankruptcy is not the issue. It is difficult, and Lieutenant can probably attest to it, to staff two stations so geographically apart. It's also tough to staff any fire department right now with the competitive marketplace. The number of folks who want to enter fire service is becoming smaller and smaller. 2 years ago, you may have offered a test and 24 people would register for it. You offer a test now and you hope to get 6 or 7. And you're also competing in a marketplace with those communities that can fund their fire department off of 4 mills. And we're funding the department off of 14 mills because that cost of the personnel is high. And if you are a qualified firefighter, paramedic, obviously you're going to go where you think you can support your family best. So we're always competing in that marketplace. We've studied this and studied it, the service model, the financial model. We hired an expert to help us. We talked to multiple jurisdictions. And we do feel that this is a good option for us to go with your purchase on a contract basis. Are we done studying it? No. Part of this legislation says that we are advocating for a broader commission to study to deliver your fire service. We heard that from a number of chiefs that we've interviewed, that the current model, the competitive model, is not sustainable. The model where some jurisdictions can't get anybody to work and they're relying upon mutual aid. We've got to find an answer, more of a regional answer than all the little departments that have served everybody very well, but those were departments that were built originally off of volunteers. So part of our ordinance or our resolution says we're withdrawing March 1, 2022, that we're asking for the approval of this allocation agreement, which will start that flow of our segue out of the district, and that we want a broader study to find out what's the best option. We vote tonight, are we done? No. We get a breather. We have to look at what the tax will be that we're asking the residents of Gulf Manor to approve looking out into 2023. Again, 2022, we no change in taxes. The financial model which we've developed, if we look more closely at it after the first year, may enable us and hopefully enables us to cut taxes for the residents. So we're taxing them at a lesser rate, supplementing it for the period of 5 years. So that's something we have to look at immediately getting into the new year. There's also been a request to make a joint statement, and it's not part of any of the negotiated agreement. I will ask you after we go through legislation to consider appointing 1 or 2 people to work on a joint statement with the district. Like any family that breaks up, there's a lot of tension, and nobody wants to walk away pointing the fingers. Nobody wants to walk away blaming anybody. But a joint statement probably would be appropriate if we can work something out. So with that long-winded explanation, we do have this resolution on the table to approve as an emergency. And the reason for approving as an emergency, by our charter, resolutions take effect 30 days after passing. We want to be able to get the process started. So we don't want to wait until December. So as an emergency just says it's necessary for the public health and safety. The reasoning here is to make sure we have no gap in service and we can move forward. Questions, comments, discussion?
So this is,
This is the vote. Ready for vote. Mr. Lanzer can call the roll unless there's comments or discussion. And this will be a motion to approve this as an emergency, as it says in the title. So we need 5 of 6 members to approve it. They would take effect as an emergency.
seems like we have to maintain some level of confidentiality.
Good
So it
question.
doesn't risk anything.
We signed a confidentiality agreement through the Supreme Court Commission. And those of you who maybe you've seen reruns on Nick at Night or TV Land, it's the cone of silence, like Get Smart. The cone of silence would like to remain the cone of silence.
Just want to confirm that, I think.
So in practical terms, that means previous executive session, conversation, that still isn't something that we can discuss.
No, we do have to be able to make the case to the residents why we've done this and why we want to support with the levy. We do. And we think that with the broad study we've done, Earth, members of the Executive Committee, Finance Committee, and our outside expert, we think we've made a good decision. And a very sustainable financial decision going through the next 5 years of fire service for the village. Yeah, to come right out in January and start making the case for that tax maybe, and again, where we're projecting right now, to be able to advocate for lower tax rate.
I've read the headline news. I don't know how many communities have lowered the tax in my recollection at all. Cincinnati's always gone up. That would be interesting.
We dropped a 5 mil levy in 2018.
2018, yeah.
For us.
See? Outsiders.
Any other questions? Are we ready for a roll?
Need a motion first, correct?
We've got a motion on the table to approve it as emergency and a second. So now we're going to roll call vote on approving resolution 2021-35 as an emergency.
You ready? Mr. Betcher,
Yes.
Ms. Cheney,
Yes.
Mr. Knipp,
Yes.
Mr. Pridnoff,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mr. Van Horn.
Yes.
Thank you. And I'll have Mr. Earth sign the asset allocation agreement. We will tender that over to Miami so they can approve at their board meeting next Wednesday night, and then work with legal counsel to advocate to the auditor that they approve it so we can move quickly into 2022 with this financial law. The companion piece to that is resolution number 2021-36. I have a motion to read that by title only.
Motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
This is a resolution approving and authorizing a fire protection agreement with the Deer Park Silverton Joint Fire District and emergency. I need a motion and a second, and I'll give some background. It's a motion to approve it as an emergency.
Is there a motion? All those,
No,
sorry.
this will allow us to contract with Deer Park Silverton. It is a contract at $550,000 per year. That's the base number. There is backstop protection. They would like to have $614,000, but they'll be collecting the soft bill, which is EMS services and fire services. So the agreement we do with them is $550,000 per year on a 5-year contract. And then we will backstop the $64,000. So if they're only able to collect $30,000 in a year, we will then pay an additional $34,000 on top of the $550,000 for those services. If they collect $75,000, we owe nothing more for that year. There is a 3% increase in years 4 and 5. Not unusual. Collective bargaining agreement will probably come up during that period of time. They may have to adjust wages, and that's the cost year's wages. So that'll allow them that protection as they go forward with their negotiations. We are also giving them a 2008 Porton squad. Instead of having to pay money if we terminate the contract in the first 3 years, we're giving them a squad that they need to immediately start service. They're buying a new squad. That's something they've talked about in their capital budget going into 2023. And actually, you would order 2023, Lieutenant, am I correct? It might get here by Christmas of 2025.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
If you order a squad in 2023, it might come for Christmas in 2025. That's about how far
Right now,
behind.
like, it's about a year and a half to 2 years out, I believe, for ambulance and fire.
Right.
It's taking a minute. Lots of folks are buying it.
So this will approve us starting the contract with them on March 1 of next year when they will have the crew. They're going to add 3 new members, the whole crew, to be able to service the additional volume 24/7 that will come from Gulf and being part of their service area. Questions, comments?
Thank you for all your work again.
It's not just me. Andy and Ron and I have had multiple discussions and meetings on this.
I want to thank all the council members. For those who aren't aware, over the past year, 2 years that we've been looking at this, when you include, so there's been executive sessions, like I want to say almost every council meeting. No one was getting paid overtime, right? But the workload on all the council members has been at least double with a number of things going on, just being. So thank you for your dedication, putting in the time to make this happen. Appreciate it. Yes, Mr. Donald will send the administration. Thank you, Mr. Donald.
Yeah, you guys do. Thanks.
Welcome.
So do you want to do a roll call now or questions or comments?
All right, Mr. Betcher, Mr.
Yes.
Kmet,
Yes.
Mr. Pridnoff,
Yes.
Ms. Snyder,
Yes.
Mr. Van Horn.
Yes.
Just to finish up, while there's nothing formal in the agreements, I said that we would like to make a joint statement. And it should not be part of the agreements. It's not part of the statute. Joint statement probably would be healing. So whether the mayor appoints one to craft that statement with representatives from the fire board, or with our 2 fire board members to craft statements with their colleagues on the fire board.
I think it makes sense for the 2 representatives to work with the other representatives in forming that statement.
Is this a council decision or a mayor's decision?
Just proffering how you want to, I would say it's a council motion, and make what the motion is right now is to let Andy and Mr. Van Horn work with the other board members from the other district to see if they can come up with language that's joint. I would hope that they would bring it back to us first to review.
Sharon, you want to be part of that?
No,
No, sorry.
no, I don't want any joint. No, I'm totally against it.
And we may not be able to come to a conclusion on a joint.
I think we should do our own. I'm not lying to residents, I'm telling you that right now. I think they deserve the truth.
I think they can work with it, but ultimately we should, as a body, approve,
Okay.
right?
Okay with that,
Nothing goes out without full council approval.
okay.
That's my opinion.
So we
I
made
agree
an
with
attempt
that.
I
to work with them to have a joint statement, but it doesn't go out till council.
Correct.
So the motion would be that Mr. Van Horn and Mr. Lanzer as representatives of all the members of the board work with other members of the board to see if they can come up with a joint statement and bring it back to council.
All you guys who put in all these hours to have some kind of statement that you didn't agree with. That's not the intention. I don't think anybody wants that.
I expect editing.
Right.
I just wanted to share. I thought you wanted to help. That would be good.
Oh.
We're gonna
I don't think you want me to write it.
So
I will make that motion.
I'm excited. I'm just like, oh, you don't.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Without objection, I take that unanimous.
and just to close things, first of all, thanks to all our veterans. Thursday is Veterans Day. Whether you're a veteran sitting in this room or a veteran watching on TV, thank you. I have a son-in-law who's a vet. So it means a lot to me. And lastly, congratulations to the council members who were reelected. Congratulations, Mr. Fisher. REA, we're going to miss you. I've enjoyed working with you. And I hope this is not the last time you'll be here. But thank you for what you've done.
He might be happy.
Yeah, you might be, yeah.
After the last couple of years.
Or his wife, at least.
That's correct.
So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Bowers. Ms. Snyder.
And they're really, executive committee did meet this evening, however, we had no new business and anything we discussed, I believe, was already brought up by Mr. Hurst or Mr. Linton. So really no report.
Very good, thank you. Ms. King, any report for education?
Just that LSDMC meets this Wednesday.
Thank you. It's probably not any nonprofit report. Fire district report.
Yeah, there's a couple things. Next fire board meeting will be Wednesday, November 17th at 6 p.m. at Fairfax. Mayor Shelton has asked if we would have an issue with moving the December meeting. It was originally scheduled to be here off Manor. He had asked if we could move it to the old Columbia Township Firehouse that's being renovated right now as to host Chief Timmers his going away party since he's retiring. I don't.
We're doing a whole firehouse just for a.
Was being he started. So what Carson presented to me was it would be a nice way to send him off by sending him off in the place of which he started. I don't have any objection to that. I think it's a good move.
Are they decorating, renovating?
It's been renovated. It's Columbia Township, my understanding from Lieutenant Thompson, is Columbia Township's administration is moving into that firehouse. So it's been under rehab and modification for a while now. This would be kind of the first run of that there. So be on the lookout for that. This should be formalized at the board meeting. The last item I have is it's my understanding that the hiring committee that the board authorized to select the next fire chief or new fire chief. And my understanding is that recommendation was unanimous among the people on that hiring committee. So I believe a recommendation will go before the board on fire district will have a new chief, hopefully after that meeting. Rogers, anything you have?
I will be traveling on the 17th. I expect I'll be home in time, but I'll keep you posted.
And a report.
Planning Commission, Mr. Betcher.
No reports. Next scheduled planning commission is Monday, December 6th, pending any business.
Community engagement, Mr. Kent.
No report.
Finance Committee, Mr.
No
Betcher.
report. Next meeting is November 22nd at 6 p.m.
With appropriations.
Appropriations.
Any Project 47 task force report, or are we?
We've concluded.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Announcements. Next council meeting, Monday, November 22nd. Finance Committee will be at 6 p.m., council meeting at 7 p.m. Let's see, after the next council meeting, after that, next council meeting will be December 13th. Council members elected on November 2nd will be seated along with the organization of the new council. Friends, families, and general public are welcome to attend. And that council meeting will end with a reception, as we said at the top. Any other business, or do we have a motion to adjourn?
One quick announcement, if anybody's interested in the license plate readers, if you go to Flock, F-L-O-C-K, Flock Safety, you can see the company and the products and their privacy. There's videos on there from elected officials' perspectives, things from police chiefs, things like that to review. If you want to do that in advance, so that we can have
Very good.
Flock Safety out here.
That's blocksafety.com.
Flocksafety.com.
Thank you, everyone, for your service. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Dollar, do you want these back?
And we are off